Hey guys, I'm gonna show you how RockStack supports both Prisma and Drizzle. You can remove one of them or you can add another ORM because RockStack is built with the repository pattern for data access. So we have this folder db and in the config folder we have Drizzle configuration, mock data like fake data for all the models like a fake user. This is for testing, and the Prisma schema. For example, core.prisma, we have app configuration, and on accounts, we have our user model. So let's take a look at the user. How do we handle the database calls on that? First, we need an interface for the user DB. And here I specify all my contracts and what are the parameters and what is the return type. Now, on the models, I need to create that user model, which is the base one that comes from the database. And by the way, if you don't like this and you just want to use Prisma, well, you can just do this. So you have your user model mapped directly to Prisma. But since we need like not coupled to Prisma model, we write it again. Now, there's a difference between the models and the DTOs because the DTOs may not have specific fields, like, for example, password hash. And user with roles, user with details are also DTOs that are specified so you can extend the basics. Now, this is for every model that you create on the database. And on the specifics implementations, we have Drizzle, Mock, and Prisma. Each one of them implementing the iUserDB in this example. So we have UserDB Prisma implements an interface of UserDB. And here, for example, get all where the where it contains the tenant. And we're gonna get user with details, which contains the user model and tenants and roles. So we specify the Prisma specifics for the filtering and the Prisma specifics for the joins. And that's it. I guess finally we have some tests that you can run. So we have this test utils. No, I mean DB index, where we base depending on the provider that you choose, which comes from this environment variable, or you can just pass it like hard coded once you decide which ORM are you going to use. We define this app user configuration equals to app configuration db prisma or drizzle. And there's a difference between database calls and logic specific calls. Let me show you what I mean. So we have db user across the application. Like for example, here on forget password page, we have get the user with this email. So this is an interface. We don't care about the specifics. It can be Drizzle, Prisma, or even mock fake data. But if I'd like to implement like a logic on this function, like caching, uh, it doesn't go on this Prisma specific or Drizzle. For that purpose, I create a service around that model. I call it user service. So here we export a bunch of different functions that contains logic. So this user service is on the accounts module and is on the services folder. So you can see we have auth service, tenant service, user service. So an example is get user. So why am I returning null if the user ID is empty? Well, because I'm not sure if the cookie session or the session cookie contains user ID empty or an invalid string. So I just do a little bit of cleaning. And now I implement this cachified so I can cache my user, and here I call my repository for getting the user. So I'm not gonna use this cachified method inside the repository specifics. And yeah, for creating users, some logic behind that, like encrypting the password and so on. Yeah, and that's the difference between services calls and database repository calls. So yeah, I was going to show you the the demo on testings or on tests. So we have this db index file, and here I can specify if this ORM applies to test or not. If I run it, it will only test Prisma. Let me show you npx test. So I have these tests. So we have an error somewhere on app configuration, and I guess that's because the database was not created. So yeah, we have these Prisma tests on app configuration and on user. But if I'd like to test Prisma and Drizzle at the same time, just because I'm migrating or something like that, I can enable it here and run again. So we have these Prisma tests, these Drizzle test, and we can see where it's failing. Like we have errors on Prisma ORM on this function. So we have it on Drizzle as well. So this function is not well implemented. So you'll need to go to your Drizzle implementation. And yeah, we don't have it implemented yet. And on Prisma, it's not returning the correct data. So I need to check it. So yeah, this is how RockStack handles multiple database ORMs. And of course, if this is too much for you and you just want to keep, for example, Prisma, you will go to your DB folder and remove the Drizzle folder, and on the config also the Drizzle, and you will just fix whatever broke on this uh, modifications that you made. And yeah, remove it also from the package JSON. And if in the case that you're using Drizzle instead of Prisma, well, you're just gonna delete Prisma. And another thing is that I'm gonna use Prisma to generate all the models, like to push the changes on the database. So even though I'm not gonna use Prisma on all my projects, I'm always gonna use Prisma to run the migrations and to update the database, because it's so convenient the way they do it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and you can get RockStack right now with 90% discount, but on launch day it's gonna be $199. Thanks for watching.